genre.
And welcome back to The Doctor's Companion presents Doctor Who, The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review and discuss every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Nick Jimenez.
I'm Scott Corelli.
And I'm Cass Fredrickson.
And today on the show, we will finally be discussing the venerated Chibnall era of the show. We are back talking about 13. Feels like it was just yesterday, but now we're coming to it the long way round. We will be discussing The Woman Who Fell to Earth, the 13th Doctor's first story.
Almost 7 years ago, this premiered.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
2018.
What?
Yeah, 2018.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Black Panther.
Yep. October 7th, 2018.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Sure is.
And, you know, it's the Chibnall era is our era as the fandom knows it. The era that everyone liked.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So this era is new enough that my usual go-to place for research has not started their business for this era yet.
Oh.
So I had
We're ahead
to do some firsthand research. And, I think that like a lot of what we're going to be talking about isn't quite as definitive. It's some like reading between the lines, reading the tea leaves, things like that. But we do have more information now that the era is over than we did when it first came out and they were just, promoting it vaguely.
Right.
I think, you go back to January 2016, which is when Stephen Moffat announced that he would be leaving the show at the end of the 10th series and its Christmas special, and would be replaced by Chris Chibnall, our worst nightmare. At the time, he was like, I think, well, no, not our worst nightmare, because our worst nightmare was
Gatiss.
Gatiss.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, well, it's better than Gatiss. And, we were hopeful because Chibnall had just come off of Broadchurch, and I really like Broadchurch. I don't think Cass had ever seen it. And Nick, have you ever seen Broadchurch?
I like the only season I've seen, which is the first one. So to me, it's just like a good show that got bad, but I never saw the bad parts.
Yeah. So, and I don't even think the bad parts got bad. It just got a little long in the tooth. And it wasn't bad. In fact, I would argue that if the second season had been the third season and it had just been a case of the season, like a case of each season, it would have felt a little better than trying to like continue the case from the first season into the second season. And then the third season is just some other case,
Because that was series 2 was like the fallout and the court case after having caught the guy.
Right.
And then season 3 was like, and now it's a new thing. And everyone was like, what are we doing?
Right. The first season was the law and the second season was the order. If you've ever seen an episode of Law and Order, it's divided that way. So Broadchurch was great, specifically because it was about a small town full of a bunch of interesting characters, and you really got to spend time with them, get to know them, figure out their fears and their loves and their everything. It was very novelistic in its approach. And I think those were some of the things, some of the buzzwords that we were all like, oh, is he going to change what Doctor Who is? Like, is he going to make a really serialized show? I remember that being one of the things that we were talking about, and a lot of the things that people were excited about, of like we all love the Adventure of the Week style of Doctor Who, but we were like, well, but new showrunner, let's see what this could be. And, it kind of turned out to be sort of like a weekly serialized, a weekly WEAK, a weekly serialized situation where it's like you get to the end of this episode and it's obviously teeing up what the next thing is. It's got that sort of like Netflix, don't you just want to binge the next episode kind of ending, but it's not really telling one story over the course of the show until we kind of get closer to the Spy Master and the Timeless Child and all of that stuff. And
Flux.
Yeah. And we all know how all of that went for most people. Or
do we?
Yeah, right. So, so going all the way back to that announcement, I think we were all a little trepidatious because we haven't loved any of Chris Chibnall's episodes of Doctor Who. But my feeling was like Broadchurch was so good. Maybe he's a better writer now and will bring a new flavor. And maybe, with him in control, maybe there, maybe we'll get a little more of this, a little more of the Broadchurch Chibnall and a little less of the Doctor Who Chibnall that we've gotten up to this point. So, I think we were all trepidatious, but interested. Over the course, of course, like immediately when it was revealed that Peter Capaldi's going to be leaving, then, the speculation on the 13th Doctor began. Names that were thrown around at the time, if you guys remember, Ben Whishaw, Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
God, I do remember all of that. Oh my God.
Yeah. Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
Olivia Colman, which was probably the closest guess because she was from Broadchurch. And most notably of those guesses was an actor by the name of Chris Marshall, who is probably most well known as the horny British blonde guy from Love Actually who says, I'm going to go to America and get laid, and does. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Best part.
He has an orgy with 4 American women.
Good for him.
4 of the most 2000s women you can think of.
Yes. We're talking Shannon Elizabeth, Eliza Cuthbert,
January Jones.
January Jones.
Oh,
and then,
hell yeah.
and then somebody, and then some woman that I recognize, but don't know her offhand, like what she was from or anything. But I remember I watched Love Actually, still sucks. We watched it this year. And was like, I was like, oh yeah, I recognize her, but I don't know why or what from. And I refused to look it up. But she seemed like somebody who hosts an MTV show or something. That kind of vibe, like a, Carmen Electra, Jenny McCarthy type. Nick just made a face. Any idea?
No, I'm sorry. Cause it says it's Olivia Olsen, but that's not right. Cause she's the little girl. She's the little American girlfriend who sings All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Right.
And would later be the voice of Marceline the Vampire Queen.
Oh, wow.
That ugly face I made, which is how shitty and stupid Google AI is.
Oh, yes.
For insinuating that an 11-year-old girl was one of the American women.
Oh my God.
Right.
Shannon Elizabeth? Did you say Shannon Elizabeth?
Yeah, I said Shannon Elizabeth. There's a 4th
Denise
one.
Richards?
Then maybe there's 5.
Christmas Jones?
Denise Richards. No, Denise Richards was the one at the very end of the movie.
Oh, okay.
The as yet unrevealed one or something.
Yeah, okay. Because
Anyway.
there's also remember Liam Neeson. Doesn't Liam Neeson end up with Claudia Schiffer at the end?
He does. Yeah. The joke being that
weird...
she was on his okay to fly list with his wife who is now deceased.
He makes that joke at her funeral, Cass.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
my wife always said I couldn't be with another, unless it was Claudia Schiffer.
Yeah. It's
Oh my
my poor
God.
dead wife.
it's not a good movie, guys. I get the nostalgia. I get it. The Bill Nighy stuff is pretty nice, but you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chris Marshall.
Chris Marshall.
Yeah, the horny guy from that movie.
And presumably other stuff.
Was the guy presumably I wouldn't know. He was the guy that was like the favorite, the bookie's favorite. There was like an announcement that was like unsubstantiated that it was like, oh, we figured out who the next doctor is. It's this guy, Chris Marshall, for sure. This is the guy. And then it was like a few weeks later, the Jodie Whittaker announcement happened, which is funny. So Jodie Whittaker getting this, this was, Chris Chibnall has said that he had always wanted a female doctor, for his era. He wasn't entirely sure who, but had settled on Jodie Whittaker, asked if she would be interested. Jodie Whittaker more or less said, yeah, I love a gig. And filmed an audition that he said, like a self-tape that he said like blew everyone away. I am not positive if literally anyone else auditioned.
Oh.
I can't find any confirmation that there were any other auditions, or if Chris Chibnall said, this is who I want, I'll have her do a self-tape. She did it. BBC was like, okay. And he was like, great. She's my doctor. Done. And that was that. Which is very strange. As in terms of like the only other time that happened was David Tennant. And that was just because he worked with Russell on Casanova and was like, this would be the perfect guy.
So there is a 1-to-1. Like
there is a
Jodie
1-to-1.
Whittaker worked with Chibnall on Broadchurch.
Yep.
Apparently like a really good self-tape. I mean, she carries the next 3 years of the show on her back. So it's not difficult to imagine that she had a really good self-tape,
Yeah. I think, as she has mentioned on a podcast with David Tennant, talking about the early days of all of this, she said that she tried to watch the show to be inspired, couldn't really get into it. And then Chris Chibnall said, I actually don't want you to watch the show. I just want you to read the scripts and perform the truth of the scenes, and your doctor will come out of that. And she was like, oh, okay. I don't have to watch the show that I don't really care for. Okay, great. And
must be nice.
Yeah. And so that was that. And she just became, her doctor just came out of her, supposedly playing the truth of every scene from her perspective. And, that was that. And he knew that he wanted a female doctor and a big TARDIS crew. And that was his modus operandi. I mean, I'm not finding much in the way of, because he still has like a very sort of mysteriousness to like what he wanted out of this era. Because he thinks that there's like, oh, I just want people to like get what they want out of it or whatever, but I love it. And I thought it was very successful. And so I'm not really sure what his goals were. And if they were met, they seem to have been met because he seems to be very happy with his era. But that's kind of where we are with this one. She was announced with that video, also shot by the same director, the director being Jamie Childs. It was shot while they were making this episode.
I mean, it looks like the woods that Ryan goes to get his bike in. That looks just like the woods from that teaser.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's exactly what it is. And we get the woman who fell to Earth, and it's the biggest crew changeover from in Doctor Who since the 11th Hour. They just fired everybody and started over from scratch. Everything from, music to, makeup artists, costume designers. The costume designer
Catering.
came from Broadchurch. In fact, most of the crew came from Broadchurch. That's that. So, that is how we get here. I wish I had more than that. But it's all I got. Apparently her outfit that she chose came out of an episode or not an episode, a magazine like from the 80s. She found this magazine and there was like a model that was wearing something similar, and she was like, I like this thing because it's androgynous without being masculine.
I do like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a fine line, and I think it rides it. I definitely do think it rides it. My only question, though, with the outfit is just that, like, she finds it in a thrift store, but then as over the course of her run, finds, like, alternates, I guess, of, like, the same outfit, but I don't know where any of those come from.
That same thrift store.
Yeah. They just keep going to that same thrift store. And she's like, a maroon one.
she she just goes on eBay
Yeah.
to buy the same like set of
Yeah.
It's one Etsy shop, Yaz.
Yeah.
So
Blams it.
for me, this was the first time I rewatched this since the first time I
Same.
watched it.
Yep.
So how did everybody feel about it rewatching this episode? Now, post the Chibnall era, we're out of the Chibnall era. It's over. We know how everything was tied up. How do we feel about the woman who fell to Earth as a regeneration story and as the kickoff to the Chibnall Whittaker era? Let's start with you, Cass.
Well, unfortunately, I still find this one to be, in parts, like very boring. It doesn't need to be over an hour long, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the pacing of it, hurt it for me. It was kind of cute, like seeing the cold open with Ryan and his little like vlog.
Hey,
but yeah, who are the two assholes that thumbed down his YouTube video about his grandma dying? But I have like a lot of mixed feelings about this because like it was cool like seeing all these characters again, and with like the benefit of like hindsight that we like know kind of where these three end up. I think even though I still like hate how the Yaz thing turned out, I think knowing about that makes their first interaction like really cute. So I'm gonna like, I don't know, I'm gonna like track the like sapphic energy as we go through this.
beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. And it felt like, because I watched last week's episode and this one like back to back, like the tonal, like the whiplash of like the tone and like the look and like the sound and everything of the show, like this era, is like really interesting. And like I don't know, I found myself getting bored with it, but like I'm still like really enamored with like a lot of these characters. And I think that I think I enjoyed her performance, like Jodie Whittaker's performance in this more this time than I did the first time.
Maybe like because you're looking back at like
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
well, I
you
know
can kind of-
what it all was now.
Yeah, you can kind of like I like her energy a lot. Like
Mhm.
it's like, you know, it's no 11th hour because nothing is, but like I like that she kind of like in the doctor's like uncertainty, there's like kind of like a certain, I don't know, like, yeah, she is, I guess she is like playing the truth of the scene, which is like really a really interesting way to look at that.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Okay. Nick, you are both a critic of this era as much as any of us are, but also, you know, a defender. And so I'm very curious about you revisiting this, and if you're like excited to be back in this era, or if you're like, oh my god, am I gonna have to defend this era of the show for like another, you know, I don't know what is it, like 30 episodes, however many episodes it is. Yeah. What do you think? How was revisiting Women Who Fell to Earth?
Yeah, echoing a lot of what Cass said. I you know, found this episode to be pretty boring and, you know, like far and away probably the weakest regeneration story, at least of the New Who era. I mean, like even compared to like Deep Breath. I think this one's pretty dull. And I think now watching it with hindsight, unfortunately, it's kind of like a lot of warning signs of what the Chibnall era would end up being, or kind of here in this episode, like the lack of confidence, the kind of ugliness, the uncertainty, the lack of confidence. But then there's plenty of like what Cass said, these like delightful, really cute moments of like, oh, my friends are back. Like,
Yeah.
I love Graham, I love Yaz, I love Ryan, and I love 13. And it's interesting, yeah, the truth of because like, yeah, it's kind of like what we were saying about how with RTD and Moffat are like, well, I don't write the doc, I write the doctor, and then the actor kind of finds the character by acting out the scene,
Right.
whether that's in Ncuti Gatwa or David Tennant or Peter Capaldi. And yeah, it's so funny how in this episode throughout 13 is like, I don't know who I am. Like, who am I? What am I about? And yet she is so 13 this whole episode. Like, there's that moment where Ryan's like, yeah, I touched it. And it's like, who would touch it? And 13's like, I would. You know, and you're like, yeah, like, and it's such a confident performance, and like, for better or for worse, she kind of really doesn't change a lot from this to Power of the Doctor. She gets like a little more cagey, and she, you know, gets a big old trauma happens to her where she kind of has her whole reality upended at some point. But yeah, I think Whittaker's in fine form and definitely a highlight of the episode. It's just, you know, and I guess as far as like defending, I don't think I need to defend this era anymore because like it's over.
Right.
We survived. We did it. And, you know, I was kind of like the mom on a road trip of like, no, we're having fun. Like, we're together as a family and it's going to be fine. But now, time of recording, listeners, again, we haven't seen season 2 yet. But I think no matter what series 2 entails, watching Woman Who Fell to Earth made me really appreciate what we have in the RTD2 era, which hasn't been perfect, but it's been a return to the fun and confidence and, yeah, just fun again that I think the Chibnall era, by and large, was lacking.
Yeah, for me, this episode is this weird thing where, you know, I'm watching it and it's just this constant sense of like, God, it feels like they almost got there with everything. Everything feels like it's almost there, but it's just missing. Everything's missing a spark. And that's my biggest issue with the Chibnall era, is that it's all missing a spark. It just feels like still water. And it's a bummer. And I feel like if I don't know. Maybe he had absolutely zero interest in doing anything like this, but I just like watch this and I just think like, oh, the doctor in a town, Sheffield, no TARDIS, has friends, building shit out of scrap, solving problems, protecting this town. If that were the show, even just for one season, and then she gets the TARDIS at the end of the season, I feel like that would have been like, oh, from the creator of Broadchurch, his Doctor Who is, we're getting to know this town and these people, and the Doctor is like, the Merlin of this town, even if not literally Merlin, But
Right.
like, I feel like I would respect this era so much more if it had taken a big swing like that in its structure than to sort of this like weird, like kind of, he steps up to the bat and he's ready to knock it out of the park and then just grabs his ball and just like, grabs his bat and just punts the ball and it's just, and then just jogs loosely over to the first base and it's like, I'm happy right here. And that's kind of what this whole era feels like,
Yeah. Cause I remember when Flux was happening, I remember feeling like, why couldn't we have had this from the beginning? Like all the weird like space nonsense. And like, even though Flux, like, is still kind of a mixed bag, like I remember having fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if like part of his motivation to not do the Broadchurch thing was like either he like wanted to distance himself from that or like prove that he could like quote do Doctor Who right,
Right.
Instead of just being like, I'm the showrunner, I can do whatever I want,
Yeah, no, and totally. And I'm not saying that was ever even crossing his mind. Like,
right.
I'm just saying like, I wish that the show had taken a bigger swing than I feel like it does. It feels like it's letting a woman being the Doctor be its whole identity in a way that like isn't satisfying because they're not even really saying anything about the Doctor being a woman.
Right.
Because they're like, but she's a woman this time, but like, she's still the Doctor. And it's like, well, okay, like I get that, but like, that's still like a fundamental change that I feel like there should be something going on with that. And it doesn't ever really feel like they play around with it much. They get to it, I think, a little bit more in the next season. There's like scenes where like she's not taken seriously and things like that in like Spyfall and stuff. Like by is it Stephen Fry is just like, fuck you. Stupid woman.
It would be Stephen Fry.
Yeah, like whatever. Yeah. But I think in general I'm just missing the mission statement of this episode. There's no mission statement. It's just like, it's Doctor Who. We're all having fun, right? It's like, okay, but like, when Moffat took over, he was like, it's a fucking fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fairy tale creature. That's what we're doing. And you're like, yeah, okay, fine. But there's no like, it doesn't feel like there's a like firm take. It just feels like Chibnall's like, oh, maybe this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the confidence is just, it's lacking. It's like confidently unconfident. It's just so lackadaisical and casual, and I think that's what I'm missing is like I want something to feel like it has like a firm stance on something.
Yeah. Cuz I think that it's very like it's very like wishy-washy. Like it's very like evasive on like a lot of the things and like even if like I don't know. Yeah, like even if I was like, "Oh, I don't like XYZ like narrative choice or whatever." At least I would like feel passionate about it instead of feeling frustrated by it,
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I mean, like, you were saying about how Chibnall is like, well, I'm proud of it. I think I did a great job, but I'm also not going to tell you what my mission statement was because, like, what is there to be proud of with this era? Like, it's like you wrote 20 subpar, pretty unmemorable middle of the road Doctor Who episodes, and Like, he apparently is a massive fan of the show. It's something that Whitaker and Moffat and RTD reiterate again and again when they defend the Chibnall era, is like, Chibnall loves Doctor Who. He believes Doctor Who. You know, he loves it like Stephen King loves baseball. You know, he's just this big romantic. But what, I don't get any of it from the show, because I think, like, we've all said this at some point, it feels like a weird CW remake of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So much of the time. And like, yeah, I'm kind of in love with like, I also kind of like getting like Dale Cooper and Twin Peaks vibes of like, oh, they're a humble folk, but I love them and I will defend them, you know? Like, that would have been something, but like, yeah, this is such like kind of a bunt of an era, which I think is why we find ourselves so frustrated with it even all these years later. And so it is with this episode, which is just kind of like, oh, it's one of the ones where like, it's a Predator riff, right? It's he's hunting humans, I guess, for some reason.
Yeah.
You know?
Even the amnesia plot line of this, which is not the first time and probably won't be the last time that this has been a thing, right? You know, that isn't even, it just feels like it's done to like hold back on stuff rather than for any specific purpose. It has no specificity. It just feels perfunctory. Like, well, this is what happens in a regeneration story, so that's what I'm going to do. She doesn't remember anything. And, you know, it makes it so that it's a slow roll up to the reveal of like who she is and what she does. But it's like, we're all watching the show. We know that. I know the other characters don't know, but like, they clearly know something's up with her. She was vomiting up like space juice at, you know, on the couch earlier. So they know something's going on. So I just don't, you know, it just makes me sad. Like, watching this just makes me sad, and frustrated. And, the only thing that brightened my day was seeing Tim Shaw again. Just kidding. But I will say this. I had forgotten that the teeth in his face are actual teeth. I had forgotten that. I thought we were just saying they looked like teeth because he, you know, I had forgotten that they were actually
literally
like
teeth.
The teeth of his victims. That is insane. Completely insane. Yikes. But yeah, you're right, Nick. It's just a Predator riff, and not a particularly good one because it's not scary. And it also just like, I think one of you, I think it might have been you, Nick, that mentioned the ugliness of this era. And it's not just that it looks ugly, but it just feels ugly. Like, it just has this like ugly vein in it that is like, all the baddies are just, I don't want to look at them. I don't like their vibe. I don't know why they're in Doctor Who. There's nothing fun about them. And they're like, yeah, like bad guys. And it's like, yeah, but like the Daleks are fun. And you could just feel Chibnall be like, oh, are they? Are the Daleks fun? The space Nazis, are they fun? And it's like, I mean, yeah, they are. They're stupid. They're stupid little roly robots with plungers for hands. Like, yeah, they're fun. Like, where's the fun? He's like, well, this guy's got 2 teeth in his face. That's not fun. It's horrifying. Like, and, you know, I don't want to like, you know, rag on somebody for trying to do something new in Doctor Who, but like, but it's a flavor that just doesn't feel right in the show.
I think it reminds me of like all of the like gross, ugly, like gratuitous, like grimdark violence of the Colin Baker era. That's like just in there to be in there, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a similar vibe where it's like, I don't like, are we like here to like shock people?
Right.
But like, does it actually like accomplish that? Or, you know, like, I don't know.
And it's also interesting because this was coming out at the same time as another long-running sci-fi show that tried to rebrand itself and recreate itself to troubling results with its fandom, which was, you know, a Star Trek Discovery, which has a very similar tone to this. to the Chibnall era of Doctor Who.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and they're both doing the same thing where they're like, what if we injected some ugliness? What would that be like? And it's like, it feels like I'm reading a Rob Liefeld comic. That's what it feels like. I don't want to read Rob Liefeld's Doctor Who, like I want Doctor Who. So yeah, it feels like if you drew Tim Shaw, he would have a lot of pouches, is what I'm saying.
Which is weird because the first, besides Ryan's YouTube video, the way this episode starts is like really pretty and almost dreamlike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the hill. I love when they're all sitting at the hill overlooking Sheffield. It almost is like the Shire.
I like that too. It just like and I understand that he has like like some kind of like medical thing that he's dealing with, and that's why he can't ride a bike. But man, it's really tough seeing a grown man struggling to ride a bike and it not really go anywhere. Really?
Yeah.
I know eventually he does get to like ride the bike right before he like leaves the show. He's like, I can ride the bike now. The doctor taught me how to ride a bike by traveling me through the universe. And it's just like, okay, I don't know. It's just too, I don't know, man. It just doesn't work for me at all.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but it does look nice. I love all the wide shots, like the scenic shots in this era of the show are gorgeous. The close-ups are nightmares to behold, but
yes,
but the wide scenic shots are gorgeous. Yeah, but it's interesting. Anyway.
Okay. So quick and dirty recap time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we open with Ryan making a vlog on YouTube. Talks about the greatest woman he ever met, which is a misdirect, and we'll come back to that later. He struggles with riding his bike. We get the introduction of Grace and Graham. And he gets frustrated and he yeets his bike off of the cliff. And they're like, okay, buddy, we got a train to catch. Good luck getting your bike out of a tree. And there's like a, honestly, I still don't know what it is, but it's like a
Hershey's Kiss.
Yeah. Like a craft. There's like laser square, and then he pokes it, and then there's like a Hershey's Kiss of Doom, that lands in the woods. And he also touches this.
Touching stuff.
I wish that's what the name of this episode was. The Hershey
Kiss of Doom.
Oh my God.
That'd be the most like.
What if that was the
classic
only thing good about the Chibnall era? Was like the titles are all amazing. Like they're all incredible.
Yeah. Like Michael Giacchino, like soundtrack titles.
Yeah.
Really fun.
You were introduced to Yaz, who's a cop. She's a cop in training. And she's kind of complaining to her boss about like, I want to be more than just like a parking enforcer person. So like they send her out to the Hershey Kiss of Doom, where she finds Ryan. They realize that they like went to school together. And then he gets a call from Grace because their train has stopped under mysterious like there's this like, I don't even know, like it's like a ball of eels, but like
cables,
electric
and wires.
Yeah. So it like incapacitates the train. There's like a whole like standoff with it, and then the doctor just like falls through the ceiling of the train, and tries to like figure out what's going on.
She's wearing kind of, I think all three of ours, like a favorite look of hers, which is like the tattered remains of 12's suit.
Yeah, I always love the tattered remains of the previous Doctor's outfit. in a regeneration story. I think it's a lot of fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. We didn't get it. We got like remixes the past 2 regenerations, unfortunately. And didn't quite get this.
They robbed us
again.
of 14 wearing 13's outfit.
He absolutely robbed us. Absolutely robbed us. And then we got 15 wearing half of 14's outfit.
Right.
But it was in the giggle, not in his first episode. What do we think of her introduction and this first scene on the train and the way she is interacting with everybody to start with?
I mean,
I
she's
like
in
it.
fine. I like it. She's in fine form, but kind of what you said, Scott. It feels perfunctory. Of like, yeah, this is what she does. She's like, "What's a tongue?"
Yeah. It has a little bit, like perfunctory and just like a copy of a copy kind of vibes to it. And I don't feel that she has the best chemistry with these characters. I feel like, I hate to say it, but I think her best chemistry is with Yaz and God, I forgot his name. What's that dog man's name? The not the literal dog man, the Labrador. The guy.
Oh, Dan.
Dan, yes.
Dan.
Yeah, like Yaz and Dan are, I think, like her best companions for her. But Yaz evolves over time, and it's weird how much the focus is on Ryan in retrospect.
Yes,
because Ryan is he ends up being such a like a nothing of a companion, unfortunately. That him being such a huge focus is very strange. It feels very odd, but yeah. I don't know. I like the bit where she's like, fat lot of good you two did. And they're like, what?
We just showed up here.
Yeah.
I think a lot of her dialogue feels like overwritten.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I agree with you. And I think you're right, because I think it's, the process that they were on, which is that she treated this like any other role.
Mm-hmm.
And every other actor who has been the Doctor has been like, okay, I'm going to be the Doctor. Let's collaborate. Let's figure out who this guy's going to be,
Right.
and
like how, like their speech pattern that works for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Like how 15 calls everybody honey.
Mm-hmm.
And she was more like, no, I'm just going to trust the guy that wrote Broadchurch to like write a good script, and I'm just going to perform that script as is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to like mess with it. And unfortunately, I think it causes her to like not really have an identity entirely. Like, it's tough to define her.
Yeah.
13. She's just kind of like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe her character.
I kind of like how manic she is in this first one, though.
Mm-hmm.
And like, like obviously over the course of it, like, over the course of her era, she like settles. But I like her energy in this a lot.
Especially coming out of 12, which
Yes.
was like, grumpy wizard, then like cool punk rock wizard, and then
Mhm.
like accepting heat death wizard, and like and having 13 being like, hey, how's it going? Like, when she like erases Ryan's phone, he's like, my stuff was on there. She's like, not anymore.
Yeah.
There's just like a fun energy.
Mm-hmm.
I also like her like gadgeting, like I like her building shit and like making stuff and like, MacGyvering shit together. Like, that was my favorite part of this character. And it's in this twice this episode that she does that. So you're like, oh, well, clearly this is going to be a huge part of her character.
Right.
And then it's kind of not, like it comes up once or twice more after this, but it's not really a major part of her character. And that sucks, because that was like that was the thing I was most excited about coming out of this episode the first time I saw it. I remember. And I think, Nick, you were like, I think you both were like right there with me on that.
Yeah. Like the little goggles, the safety goggles.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be so like frustrated rewatching this. I just based off this first episode, because then it's just going to remind me of like all of the things that like, especially now that we know like how it ends. It's just like, well, this could have been like so much more than it turned out to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well. Well.
Oh, well. Okay, so yeah, plot. So they the swirly ball of electricity thing. There's like another random dude on the train.
Mm-hmm.
He like the doctor's like, okay, well, follow me and we'll figure out what's going on. He's like, actually, I just want to bounce. And like before the thing leaves, it like implants this it's like a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
It like melts your DNA and like turns you into soup, which is like just horrible. Like, why is this an episode of Doctor Who?
Yep.
And over like there's Ryan's like, oh, I think it's my bad. I touched the Hershey Kiss of Doom. It's over in the woods. Let's go look it out. And it's gone. So they have to like track it, and it's in this guy's lab. And the it like hatches, and then this poor man is murdered by the thing that comes out of it.
He was looking for his sister.
Yeah. Who was like abducted or like, yeah, like taken, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years prior to this. So the doctor takes a regeneration nap, and then she tracks the ball of electricity and figures out that it's not like her theory is like, oh, there's 2 aliens here and they're like at war and like I got to stop them. So then she finds the thing, and it turns out it's not like an alien. It's like a I don't know. It's some kind of gadget.
It's like a biological experiment. It's like a subspecies. Like it's a piece of biotechnology where it was created. It's not like a being that was born, like an egg that is the moon.
Right. What? Okay. I think I missed. What like purpose did it serve?
Don't
because like
don't remember.
Okay.
If I'm sure it was explained, I'm sure, but like,
yeah,
it's just done in such a boring kind of like offhanded way.
Well, because like she thinks it's Alien versus Predator Requiem when it's
right.
like two beings like warring on the Earth, but then it turns out it's just OG Predator, where to prove his mettle to ascend to the throne, Tim Shaw. He has to hunt one random human, which is presumably what happened to this guy's sister. She was hunted, and then now he's hunting the insecure young man on the bus. But because then they meet on the rooftop, because that's where Graham's bus driver friend told them that the ball of wires would be.
Yeah.
But I don't remember ultimately what the ball of yarn. I don't know if it was sent there to like help Tim Shaw, or made by other aliens to stop Tim Shaw, but it's because it's like it was technology. It's not like a being.
Because I know that like it's supposed to aid him in some way, because she's like, oh, like you're not supposed to have like weapons or whatever, but like you brought this here and you like brought extra stuff. You're like cheating at your like weird most dangerous game thing. But I don't. It's not important.
It's weird though, because he says like I don't have any weapons, but he has something because he's killing people, because he kills the guy who throws his falafel at him.
Yes.
So he has like a heat glove. So it's like, is that not technology? Is that not a weapon? Is that just you, Tim Shaw?
Right. I think he says that like he's so cold that like touching someone would just, I don't know, explode them. But basically we have our good friend Tim Shaw, and the doctor's like, I'm not gonna let you win, Tim Shaw, and so she tries to get to the man from the train first to save him from being abducted by this horrible alien. There is an entire sequence with like these two big cranes, which is cool in theory, but like it's kind of it's not very exciting to watch.
Mhm.
And as a result, Grace is trying to like, because the swirly ball of electricity is like interfering with one of the cranes. Grace is trying to like stop it from doing that, and then she like falls and dies, which is so stupid. I'm still mad about that. And it's such a weird move to like kill the person who has the most like companion energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I understand it in theory if you're like really digging into like the motivations and like psyche of like these three people who are like, well, I guess we're the doctor's companions now, you know? But I don't think that he sticks the landing in that at all. So
No
it's
pun
just
intended.
kind of like, why did we do this?
Yeah.
And kind of like going back to like the Twin Peaks version of the show that like was never an option, but like, you know, I like the idea of Grace being kind of like the matriarch of this kind of like misfit kind of bespoke family unit of
Yeah.
like, imagine Grace being someone the doctor could like come to for like a cuppa or, you know, of just kind of like advice as she's sort of trying to find her way in this new world. And yeah, and I think in another episode we each said like, yeah, we would trade all three of these, even Yaz, for like a season of the Doctor and Grace going on like 8 to 10 adventures, you know.
Yeah, and I think like I'm just picturing like, oh, like, you know, the doctor like has to get a job, so she like opens like a repair shop, you know, and she just got like,
my God,
like a crazy repair shop that she like
A
works
van.
in. Yeah. You know? And like,
yeah.
and you just get like a whole season that's kind of like the lodger, but like a whole town is her roommate, you know?
Yaz is the cop, so like she's kind of her, okay, doctor, like I got you to visit the crime scene, but like don't make me I'm just a probationary officer, you know, like that kind of thing. Ryan can maybe work at the garage. I can't remember what, because I think he works at a factory, but he says he hates it. He's only 19, but his mind is older. I don't remember what Graham, I don't know if Graham's like retired yet.
Yes, he is. He's a retired bus driver, and I assume he retired
of course,
because he like because of his cancer.
he had the big cancer.
Yeah. But yeah, and then so like we have our denouement where we have like Grace's funeral and you know, Ryan's videos about like his grandma dying, and then we get 13's outfit.
I like the moment Tosin Cole, who is I think time of recording kind of had the most fruitful post Doctor Who career out of like the three companions. He has this really cool acting moment where Graham's like, I shouldn't be, mate. I shouldn't be here, and Grace should be alive, and I should be dead. And Ryan kind of has this look of like anger and then shame, and he doesn't say anything, but you're like, oh, he thought that too,
yeah,
and like he resents that he and Graham both feel that way because he doesn't like Graham yet.
right?
And so it's like, but it's like guilt that he felt that too, and then anger that he agrees with Graham about anything, and it's like, oh man, yeah. And I really like the bromance, like / like goofy movie road trip arc that these two have, where they do end up being like the best of bros. And so it's like, oh, cool. I'm there are parts of this journey that I am looking forward to seeing, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, I like them too. It's just that like, I don't know, like it's just a little, yeah. I mean, with it all being, you know, focused around the death of Grace, like it just puts like a damper on it a little bit for me.
Right.
And it also just feels, you know, again, like kind of perfunctory, because it's like, you know, if he doesn't like Graham, then like why are they hanging out later with the doctor? Like why are they both there?
Well, they think they're seeing her off.
I guess, but it's very, I don't know.
Like after the funeral? Or?
Yeah, like after the funeral.
She's like, well, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah,
I'm
I
heading
guess
off
so.
now. Like,
Yeah.
goodbye, Doc.
I don't know.
I'm so sorry, Scott. I'm not looking forward to you
Yeah.
having to go through all this again.
Yeah. It just is, I don't know.
Listeners, it was 3 years of this. It was 3 years of what you're hearing right
I
now.
know. That makes me so sad.
Scott kind of talking his way into a circle again and being like, I guess, I don't know, man. I just want to
I will say that the end of this made me like stand up in anger because I'd forgotten what the cliffhanger of this episode is, where they like, she's like, okay, well, I'm trying to summon my TARDIS. And then they like, we don't get to see the TARDIS in the first episode. And then like, I remembered that like we spend the entirety of the next episode without seeing the TARDIS until like the very end.
The Ghost Monument.
Yep.
Yeah. So I got really mad about
Which is weird because, like, if you had gone a whole season without the TARDIS, but that's what it was about, it was like her earning her TARDIS and getting it. And the season 2 is like, you had fun with her in Sheffield. Now we're in space, bitch.
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's
that
like
kind of
it's like the first half of Pertwee's tenure, and then he gets his TARDIS back, and then he goes to space with Joe.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, the TARDIS is still there. It's just basically a work shed.
Right, yeah. It doesn't work. He doesn't remember how to fix it.
Right. Yeah. I think it's just there's just so much missed opportunity, and it's just so frustrating because I'm like, because we don't have any information on like what he was trying to do versus what happened, and like I just want to know what was
Like,
going
what
through
was
his
his
mind, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what was his Ted Lasso believe?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
poster board, you know, like what was
Yeah.
his mission statement? Because it
Yeah.
didn't seem like there was one.
Right. And I feel like I wish we knew what that was so that we knew
How he failed.
I at least had that for this next round through 13's era, you know?
Right.
To sort of like reflect on. But I'm just finding myself getting like frustrated all over again.
Yeah, me too. I'm in the same boat. I'm very much in the same boat.
Yeah.
The Mandeep Gill thing is really interesting because it really it feels like I think Ryan was kind of like the default, presumably just because we start with him and he's the first one we meet and whatever. It's like, oh well, he's supposed to be the guy, but then like it was almost like they found Jodie Whittaker and Mandeep Gill's chemistry throughout this season, and then a love story kind of blossomed organically, which is really cool. And like that's worked before, kind of Monica Chandler style. But it would have been nice, I guess, if it had been like, this is a love story, you know, to quote Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Kind of something that was structured from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think like, I don't know. I like Jodie Whittaker, and I think she's a great actress, but I don't know that she was the right type for the Doctor. Because I feel like in order to be the Doctor, you have to come to it with a larger personality than I think that she just naturally has. You know, I think she is just a good actor and is, you know, but not necessarily a character actor. And I think that you need to be a character actor to play the Doctor properly. And I think that like, as a result, there's just this lack of like definition to her Doctor that I wish was there a little bit more. And I don't know if that's her. I don't know if that's Chibnall. I don't know if it's a combination of both of them,
Right.
or what. But you know, there's just like a lot of like, I don't know. There's not
the word listening to you, it kind of seems like a lack of inspiration of like, because there's that moment on the crane when she's like, I'm the Doctor, I set things right, I make things fair. And I remember I could feel all three of us through time and space watching this for the first time, kind of hoping for an 11th hour, like basically run where we're like, bitch, this is my favorite show in the world, you know? Or like when 15 is like, you get a prize, honey. And he like bops the TARDIS with a big Kingdom Hearts hammer and makes the TARDISes, you know? And like, that never happened with her really. And it certainly doesn't happen in this episode. And like it's kind of this like really frustrating lack of spark.
Yeah.
I think my goal this this like rewatch is to find it.
Mm.
But the idea of even like needing to find it is frustrating in itself. But like I want to find it for me. Like I want to know what my definitive like 13 moment is.
I had this really sad. We already talked about it before, so we didn't have to go through the walkthrough. But like when she puts on her goggles and she jerry rigs a fucking Sonic, with Sheffield steel, I was like, oh, "This is so cool." But then I was like, "Is this the coolest thing she does?" And the only thing that only 13 could have done, which is kind of like something we talk about a lot, which is like only X could have done this, and like only 13 would have done this, but they don't ever have her do anything like this again that I can think of.
Right.
No, and it's so interesting because the idea of her being like, I'm the doctor, I set things right, essentially saying like, I fix things. If that was her thing, was like, I'm the doctor and I fix things.
Right.
And it's just like, that's her entire vibe, is that she's basically a mechanic, but for the universe.
She's a gadget from Rescue Rangers.
Oh my God. Like that's it's a thing. That's like, that could be the thing that's and it's so interesting because like Six, right? Which say what you will about Six's like TV tenure. He did have a strong take on the character. Even
I'm an asshole.
Right. I'm a prick. But it was
a vision.
It was a choice, and you knew what his vibe was immediately, even if, it's not great. And then it evolved over time with the Big Finish stuff, as we'll see as we go through that. As of this recording, like it hasn't been released yet. It comes out this summer, but there are going to be 13th Doctor adventures coming from Big Finish. I have not listened to the 9th Doctor adventures. I have not listened to the 10th Doctor adventures. I think I'm going to listen to the 13th Doctor adventures. And I think it's just because I'm like, oh man, could Big Finish figure her out? Could they figure out what her thing is and like really pull it into focus now that like the pressure is off and everything? Like maybe they could figure it out. And I, or maybe I'm just a glutton for punishment. I don't know. But no, I'm with you, Cass. Sense. Like I want to know. I want to know her for me.
It makes sense that you would do that because like I can hear you. Like I can see that you want to love her as much as like like there's like a very loud pocket of fandom that's like 13 is my doctor, and I want to be in that conversation too. Like I want to know why
right yeah, absolutely. So anyway,
how up to date is Spotify with Big Finish? I don't even have Spotify, Scott, but like, do they have like 9's adventures, or are those like still just purchase only?
Those are purchase only. They only have the first, I think, 50 or 100 stories.
I think they cut it off at
first 50.
Zagreus, I think.
Yeah, I think that was 50, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first 50 stories is all they have on Spotify for free. So yeah, but I might purchase it, and if I do, obviously it's mine, so I will share it with the two of you if you're interested. Yes. Maybe we could start pairing stories. Just as like we're rewatching this thing that we didn't like very much, but we also got this new thing to talk about. Maybe we could do something like that as like a little bonus. But yeah, I think that is my biggest hope for returning to this era and revisiting it, is to find a definition of the 13th Doctor and figure out what this whole era was all about. Because yeah, I left this episode feeling like he was more interested in Ryan and Grace, the character that he kills off,
right,
than in anyone else, including the Doctor. And then like eventually like realizes, like gets bored with Ryan and sets him aside and is like,
right,
I don't know, he'll learn how to ride a bike eventually, whatever. I'm going to focus on this now. And it felt like he was, it kind of just feels like a guy who grew up being like, I love Doctor Who. All I want to do is write Doctor Who. And then he got to write Doctor Who, and he wrote a bunch of episodes of Doctor Who, and then was given the chance to take the show over. And he was like, I mean, my kid me would be mad at me if I didn't do it, right? But didn't really have like a strong take on the show, which is why his strongest take on the show is a canon shift in The Timeless Child, you know? Where it's like, I'm going to make her a mystery again by being like, she's not from Gallifrey, actually, you know?
She's from another universe.
Another universe entirely. So, and I just think like everything that he does, there's some interesting stuff in there, and it's all just executed in exactly the wrong way.
Yes. Yeah.
Where you're like, God, there's a good way of doing what you're doing, and you chose to do the other way.
Like, I still think looking back, my favorite episode of 13 is The Haunting of Via Diodati. And that's like a 7 out of 10. That's an 8 out of 10 episode for me, you know?
I think my favorite might still be the New Year's special that's like Groundhog Day.
Oh, with the Daleks?
Yeah, with the Daleks. No, did it have Daleks in it?
I
Yeah.
think they all had Daleks.
Oh, okay. They all had Daleks.
The time loop one?
Yeah, the time loop one.
Yeah. There's like a Dalek like murdering people.
Oh, right. That's right. Because that's what is kicking off the time loop. Yeah, that one. In the hotel.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
That
that's
one's
still
good.
my favorite episode of hers. But I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, got a long way before we get to that one.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
But anywho. Yeah. I think there's an episode of Flux that I really like too. I know I really love the Angel episode.
Yeah, that one's good.
Mhm.
And wasn't the Centauran one like weirdly good too?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Eve of the Daleks.
Eve of the Daleks. That's the one. Yeah. I like that one a lot. All right. Well, more as this story develops, I suppose.
What do we have next go round?
Yeah,
Scott?
so next go round, which is starting next week, guys. Like, we're not taking a break. We're rolling right into our next one.
Nice.
We have the Web Planet from the First Doctor. So that's what we're covering next week. Then the Wheel of Space, introducing Nick to Zoe, which is the sort of like the last gem in the Second Doctor's Infinity Gauntlet.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's no more new companions in the Second Doctor era once Zoe's introduced. And Zoe's the best. She's amazing. I love Zoe.
Nice.
Then we
Zoe.
have the Time Monster by the
Ew.
Third Doctor. But, you know, at least it'll be over. At least we'll never have to
Yeah.
watch it again, Cass. That's how I'm
Yep.
looking at it.
You don't know that.
I do.
Say it right now.
And then we start dipping into some fun banger territory because we have The Deadly Assassin, one of the best
Nice.
episodes of the Fourth Doctor era. Cannot wait. It's the best Gallifrey story, right? Gotta be.
Yes. Yes.
It's fantastic, Nick. I can't wait for
It's
you to watch
fantastic.
this one.
God
Yes.
damn it.
Oh no. So anyway, Deadly Assassin, Fifth Doctor. We have the Five Doctors, which
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch and talk about. Absolutely.
It's a big one that I haven't seen yet.
Absolutely. And then we have in our Big Finish era from the Sixth Doctor, we have Project Twilight, a very good Sixth Doctor story, followed by a very good Seventh Doctor story in Colditz. And then we kick off the Lucy Miller era. That's 2 new companions this round. Lucy Miller and Blood of the Daleks with the Eighth Doctor, which is a 2-part story, but the episodes are 45 minutes now.
Nice.
Then we have where the Blood of the Daleks, like, that kicks off the Eighth Doctor Adventures, which is a new rebranded era that is more like New Who than Classic Who. So everything is either a 2-parter or a one-off episode, which is great.
Nice.
So then,
This is the greatest.
speaking of New Who, going into the 10th Doctor, we have Gridlock, which we, talked about not pretty recently, but not too recently. A couple of years ago, I think at this point. But we got Gridlock coming up, and then the 11th Doctor, we have the episode that is going to be very weird to revisit now, The Doctor's Wife, which just
I'm so mad about that. Well, yeah.
Why talk about it?
You know what? We don't need to talk about it twice. Let's just talk about it the one time. But we'll talk about that. The Doctor's Wife, and then 12th Doctor, we have Mummy on the Orient Express, and for the 13th Doctor, the previously alluded to the Ghost Monument. So
mixed bag.
Yes,
it's a very mixed bag. We have some really big all-time bangers, really good stuff. Some stuff I'm really excited for us to watch, and then there's some stuff that's like, ugh. Unfortunately, I should mention Wheel in Space does not exist. So
it's a construction.
Yeah, it's going to be a reconstruction, I believe. I don't think.
They haven't gotten around to animating that.
I don't think so. I will double check, but I don't think so. I think it's a reconstruction, unfortunately, and it's a 6-episode reconstruction, which is just just brutal. But Anyway, but next week we have the Web Planet. Back with the First Doctor on Tubi. So enjoy, everyone, and we'll talk to you next week for our next round of Long Way Round. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.